The Soviet Union has just given Ambassador Liu Xiao a message to send back to China. The Soviet Union wishes to offer support in their trying times, but they advocate that the nation moves towards de-Stalinization. The Soviet Union offers support, and China is happy to hear it. Chairman Mao expresses gratitude to the Soviet Union, but denounces Khrushchev's attempt at trying to infiltrate the policy of the Chinese nation and to steer the nation away from its current path. This is now the second time Mao has formally denounced the Soviet Union and Khrushchev's administration. And with world tensions rising, it is extremely important that any allies the USSR can have be maintained. And due to recent events, with world tensions rising, the Sino-Soviet split becoming almost formally recognizable on the world stage, and Khrushchev's reforms failing economically, the KGB, as long as the cousters that have been planning to overthrow Khrushchev, have started to seize the opportunity. They have now formally started a coup. They're planning to depose Khrushchev and vote him out of the party, and install someone else. However, this coup is not quite perfect. It doesn't have all the support of the party. It's unknown how large the support for this coup really is, as most of it is quite hidden from public view. Of all the factions in the party, there are three main ones. The Marxist-Leninists, who are quite silent and disguising themselves in the party. They are not banned from the party, nor are their opinions banned. Some of them are very public about their Marxist-Leninist tendency, such as Alexander Shelepin, the de facto leader of the Marxist-Leninist faction. He is also the current chairman of the KGB. He is one of the cousters, and is planning to use the coup as a means for power in the CPSU. Then there is the reformist faction, who is currently headed by Nikita Khrushchev himself. However, if this coup was to go ahead, he would no longer be the leader of this faction, and instead, Alexei Kosygin would be the head of this faction. Kosygin is the current first deputy premier of the Soviet Union, and is also the head of Gosplan, the current command economy planning system. The third major faction in the CPSU is the conservative faction. This is led by Leonid Brezhnev. Brezhnev is currently the chairman of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet. That just means he was the chairman of the Collective Leadership Council that led the Russian SFSR. Also, it should be noted he is one of the leaders of the coup. There are 5 different outcomes that this coup could result in. 4 of the 5 outcomes is that one of the people mentioned prior ends up winning the coup's power struggle. The 5th option is a bit of a wild card. Anastas Mikoyan, the current first deputy chairman of the Council of Ministers of the Soviet Union, and the current trade minister of the CPSU in the Soviet Union. Now, we all know who Mikoyan is. In fact, for this YouTube series, we've almost been playing as him. Now, Mikoyan is one of the longest serving members in the CPSU, if not the longest serving member. Mikoyan has worked under Lenin, Stalin, and now Khrushchev. Mikoyan's status as a member of the CPSU is one of the greatest. He was close to retiring, but with this coup coming around, if Mikoyan was to secure leadership of the party, Mikoyan could steer the direction of the party in whichever direction he may believe. Mikoyan was also not part of the coup, and in fact Mikoyan's own politics is that of the party line. He believes in party unity. If Mikoyan were to take leadership and steer the party in the way Mikoyan sees fit, this would be an opportunity for the viewers at home to take even more control over the USSR's domestic and international policies. And in fact, you may even get to start events of your own. I'll leave those 5 options up to you. Currently, the United States of America is watching this with extreme interest, as a coup here means that they may be able to install some agents into the party while we shuffle around politicians. Once again, within 3 days of uploading this video, I will call the vote. The last vote for this event literally came down to 1 vote, so do put your votes in. They are very important. With that said, we'll be moving on to the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Welcome back to the 4th episode. Now, unfortunately, the people of Ural-Yug will not be here yet. people won't be moving in. There was, I nearly had an accident letting people in later on, but we avoid that. One thing I mentioned last episode was wanting to put a railroad around the city of Zhukovgrad. Zhukovgrad, not Zhu. That's a bit of my Dutch accent. Not Dutch accent, but like really old. Anyways, my family is Dutch, so I have a bit of a weird accent that sometimes creeps in. Enough about me though. So that's the railroad there. There is going to be, and you will see, a half block be built on that side of the railroad as well. Sorry, the other side of the railroad, the one by the river. Just looking through all these advertisements. Not going to put any of these down today, but sort of getting the vibe of what I've got. Sort of, you know, managing mods, figuring out what ones work, what ones don't. These flags, they actually flap in the wind, which is really awesome. That was kind of like a key thing for this, and you saw it. You probably actually saw it. 2 flags right here in front of the Communist Party HQ. One of which is the Soviet flag, which is placed down there, and there is the Russian flag, or at least the Russian SFSR flag, the Soviet Federative Socialist Republic. Yep, I believe that's the correct term. And to do that, though, the animation for it is using wind power to power itself and move it, kind of like how the wind turbines in the game will spin. That's how the mod works. So I had to turn off research and then turn it back on because the I didn't have wind power unlocked, which is fine to do at this point because there's, you know, nothing done. I won't do it later because it might bug the game out. But as I said, people will not be turning up in the city, so one thing I will do though is decorate the city. I don't finish decorating it this episode, but I do make these sort of front yards. No, they're more of a garden than a yard actually. So I use these lawns to make the grass really green and really nice, and I'll later put some paths in there that people will use. The main reason for just fencing these off is mostly aesthetics. There's no actual reason. I wanted to use these tables, but they have a price attached to them in terms of like materials, which they aren't that expensive, but the problem is that they require maintenance. And because they don't have a path that leads to them, they will actually end up destroying themselves. And also I can't even build them, so they're pretty much useless. So kind of here, trying to keep with the thing, I don't want to put too many of these prop trees down because they don't flow in the wind. It's not very noticeable when they're in between buildings. They shouldn't be moving that much anyways. But I don't want to use too many of them. It's fine when they're in these sort of small areas. And here also doing sidewalks. The main thing is to just the main thing with these sidewalks is to make them jut out and give people walking a lot of space. This was actually a big feature in at least Moscow, from what I've seen, and other regional cities. This little corner here is really difficult to do. I end up just putting a triangle planter there, even though that looks really nice. It is kind of lame, for lack of a better term. The space that's there, like these decorative sidewalks will not be used by people, but I plan to decorate them later with street props like benches, phone booths, and maybe even tables. But unfortunately they cost materials, so I'm just going to wait until a mod comes out that doesn't use materials, or I'll figure out another way of doing it. Like, maybe I have to change the way the game's played every now and again just to build them, but then it might screw up the money and the resources I have. I don't want to run into that issue. I'm just going to probably wait for a mod that comes out. Yeah, so a lot of decorating is done. This is mostly a time-lapse of decorating. One thing I do want to say though, while we are watching the decorating, is I've been blown away by how many people are watching these videos. Like, this is the first thing that's, like, seriously popped off on my channel, like, ever. So, I mean, it's insane. And it's great to see everyone coming in, interacting, you know, joining in on the creative process, voting on stuff, coming up with ideas, and then, you know, it's very inspiring, and I want to thank everyone for watching and, you know, turning up. It actually makes me want to keep making these videos, because now there's literally thousands of people watching. It's crazy. I used to barely get, I used to never get 100 viewers, and now all of a sudden I've got 2,000 on a video in a matter of like weeks, which it's just unfathomable for me. I can't really figure it out, but I mean, I'm gonna keep doing it then. Yeah. There's one thing that I'm specifically doing as well with these decorations, which I'm changing here. It's kind of minute. It's got to do with like the layers. There's the corners. I can't make them particularly. I can't make them square. I have to give them that little chipped, like sort of. So they're not like the very edges aren't actually meeting. It doesn't look bad from a distance. Even up close it looks fine. It's just that if I did from a distance, if you have them push right up at each other, because they're squares and they're not like cut off at an angle at the very edges, what ends up happening is they'll start trying to clip over each other, and when you zoom out or you look or you pan around, they start like glitching out a lot. I mean, the lawns are bad enough, but like, there's literally no way to just make the grass green in this area. And like, I usually wouldn't be so crazy about it, but I mean, it looks amazing, right? First of all, that's why I want to do it. But also, importantly, like a big part of Soviet planning was green space, lots of green space. Maybe not like. Actually, it's probably I'm probably not doing it enough service. I'm probably putting too much density and proximity with this stuff, and even these yards are not very Soviet planning style. I'm kind of leaning into the liberal idea of individual like yards, though I'm being very particular about what the gardens are. The gardens don't have gates on them. They have a fence. The fence is just decorative though. Like, it's not designed to stop people climbing over or even like getting in and out. It's mostly just, it's not even like a privacy, it's not even that much of a privacy barrier. Like, they're see-through and everything. It's just more of a decorative thing than anything else, which I'm kind of doing as like these are it's only just a demarcation for what is the garden and what is what is the garden and what's not the garden. And the garden is specifically what the housing authority or the housing co-op or the housing committee is directly controlling and maintaining, and everything outside of that is just natural. So that's why you have flower beds in these areas. Though there are flower beds elsewhere, they would be more communal. So like, for instance, that little garden plot at the yard, that area would be, that'd be something that most people are not allowed to touch. They're allowed to obviously go in there and enjoy the yard, but they're not allowed to, say, plant any crops there. That's for the housing authority to work on. But and one thing I'm also doing, I'm trying to be very, very, very careful with where I'm putting these fences so they don't like mesh into a window or a door. It doesn't actually matter if I do that or not. It's just important from the looks point of view. Like, I don't want to see a fence just go straight into a wall. Sorry, I mean a window, when it shouldn't do that. Yeah, and also I'm just trying to make them exactly even as well. I'm trying to be very particular. I might actually just do a ton of this decorating off screen, because there's a lot that needs to be done, and like, I'm just going to show off how I'm doing it, and then I'll just copy this pattern across over and over again. And because this game doesn't have a copy and paste system, you have to do it all individually and manually. So we've got quite a lot of houses to do that on, so I'll probably just do that off screen in between episodes, and I'll show it off later. I've not done it all yet, and even by the end of the episode it's not going to be done. By the time people will move in, I will have all the decorating done. And I'm probably just going to do it off screen, because it's just going to take a lot of work and a lot of time. Like, it'll probably take me a few hours just decorating. I'll show off the end result, of course. That'll be amazing. It'll look awesome. But, yeah. As you can see, it's very particular. I'm just lining up all of the assets so that they don't make weird clipping angles. I really didn't need to delete that. I don't know why I deleted that, I'll be real. See, like, I even put it right back where it was. I just moved it a little bit. Yeah, and also trying to keep the trees to be a particular kind. I'm going to delete that tree later, don't worry. That tree doesn't belong there. It shouldn't be there. I don't know why I put it there. I'll be real. I don't know why I put that there. That tree doesn't belong. I'm trying to keep it like spruce and pine trees mostly in this area. It's sort of like the... It's not the native foliage. I should say flora, not foliage. It's because, as you can see, there's actually beech trees here, and I believe those are thuja trees as well, all around the area. And here's that block I said we were going to plant as well. I'm going to change the shape a little bit, but it's essentially just going to run along the coast with very minor additions and changes to the coastline. Though I do actually have to change the coastline a little bit. One big major consideration that this block has to make, though, it's not that it has no access. In fact, it has some of the best access to services in the entire city. Even though it's right up against the river, this would be a great place for, like, tourism. I'm not going to use this place for tourism because tourists will be coming from the train station, maybe the bus station. If they come from the bus station, then yeah, fair enough. But they're going to be going to the train station, which is on the other side of the city. And they're not going to have access to this area by walking. So I'm probably not going to deal with that. In a bigger city, where we might focus more on trams as public transportation to get around the city, that might be like totally fair. But in the case of Zhukovgrad, this is not a particularly specialized city at all. And one thing here that I ran into an issue with is that the railroad will not allow for crossing for pedestrians. I managed to just squeeze in the roads, but the pedestrians crossing here would be unable to cross for some reason. I'm not sure why. I think it might just be the proximity. And anyways, it's probably safer to build these overpasses anyways. I could build underpasses, but I actually like the look of the overpasses. I built 3 of them, 2 on the edges and 1 on the one in the middle. So that way we can have the middle, like the 3 different lanes across the city that you can move across. If you live on the left, if you live on the, I guess it would be the west or the east side of the city, or even if you live in the very middle of the city, you always have a way to just move across the entire city by walking. Though if you do live on the other side near the lake, you're probably not going to get access to this area, which is okay. You don't need access to this area. This area will have more housing, if anything. Sorry, not if anything, it will have more housing. And it'll also have a house of culture, a modded one, which I'll be bringing in later. Also in this little area, between the railroad and Zhukovgrad itself, just going to add some small housing here, just housing units. We've got the space for it, and we don't need these to be built when people come in, but it's good to have spare housing so that young people who are looking to move out of the family home have a place to stay. That's just the long and short of it. Just somewhere where people know they can move out to. So we'll have another brick flats, which I placed not straight actually, and we'll also have a medium-sized flat as well. That way we have just a lot of density. We don't want to be taking up too much space with housing. Now, you may have noticed, probably when you clicked on the video to be honest, but this is a shorter episode than most. There are a few reasons for that. One is that a lot of the footage is just me decorating and it's pretty boring. I mean, this is a little interesting. I'm finally putting down that path that I said I was going to put down, but that's not very interesting at all. We get a few things started. For instance, this technical university that's something that has to be done a particular way. For some reason, you can only connect it via a road for construction. Some buildings are just like that, it turns out. So to explain why this episode is shorter, other than just the fact that most of the content filmed was pretty boring, like just decorating like this. Firstly, my internet went down while I was editing, and while I don't need the internet to edit, I do need the internet to source a lot of music, a lot of historical information, images, etc. While this series is alternate history, it has to have some sort of basis in reality. That way it makes it believable, understandable, and also it's not just one of those crazy, like, right-wing crackpot alternate history videos. And also, the internet being down is just sort of an Australian thing. The kangaroos that carry our internet packages just sometimes get lost, which, you know, fair enough, they are, you know, they are marsupials. They don't have the best navigation skills out there, though I would expect more of them. They are pretty intelligent. At least they are more intelligent than half the population. Now, other than that, there is another reason, and not a big reason. I kind of slacked off a little bit this week, I'll be honest. Palworld came out and I played that a bunch. If you want to see anything from that, from me playing it, I can do that, but honestly, I don't think many people from here would be interested in that. If you are, I mean, I can always just do that as well. It might... I'm not going to make it if it's going to hinder the quality or the upload schedule for this series, but there is a noticeable, like, couple of days between uploading a video and having to wait for votes where I could do another upload or a series of something else, but I'm not going to do it if no one wants it. Now, big issue, not issue actually, we have a fire, first fire in Zhukovgrad. It took a year, but it happened. Now, actually, sorry, no, this is the second fire. There was another fire that I think I didn't show in one of the other episodes. It happened off screen. This one is, I mean, it was not really a close call. It's just, you know, it was a fire. But you know this, we need a permanent fire station in the city as well. And I've also intentionally put it at the very edge of the city, because later on, we'll upgrade this with helipads, which I'll put on the side there, because helicopters and firefighting is pretty good. And it's right next to this lake here, which makes so much sense, so they can pick up water from there. It's just, yeah, it's perfect. Though, there is an old saying, when it rains, it pours. Though, in this case, it's not rain, it's actually fires. Because when it rains, it pours, and after one fire, of course, we had to have a second right after it. Just perfect timing, really. This was a bigger fire at the rail construction office, which is ironic, because I just put down a fire station, planned to build it, right after the first one. Looks like we were very much right in trying to build more fire emergency response units. And that was dealt with quickly. Other than that, managing the water supply in the city, it works now. This time lapse you're seeing here is before that water tower was built. I just wanted to show the water tower was built. You'll see it in some other cinematics, but currently all of the utilities are flowing into the city perfectly fine. I've done test runs with people in it. Okay, test runs. And the city works, but it doesn't work perfectly. There's a few issues. But it's only stuff like culture, right? Culture and sports facility access, which is why I built the which is why I built the House of Culture near the river. The art gallery as well by the Lakers, very important. We also need more sports facilities. We might need to open like a very big sports facility of some sort. So we've already got that indoor pool, but honestly, I've got these football stadiums, and I kind of want to put one football stadium per town or city in all of Ural-Yug, which would be really fun. We could technically have a little like sports league in our own little region of the USSR. We could even have our teams join the USSR's national sports leagues, but I mean that's a discussion for you guys. And speaking of football, the World Cup in 1962 is coming up as well, and the USSR will probably want to plan for that. And depending on if Mikoyan gets the seat or whoever else, we might get some events based around that. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. This is actually the end of the video. And as you can see there's the water tower. You get a bit of a better view of it in the next shot, but yeah, this is the very end of the video. I want to thank you for watching, and I will make a better episode next time, or a longer one, and there will be people moving in, so stay tuned for that.